Hello and welcome to Folklore Sleep Stories. Tonight we're drifting into another ancient tale, one shaped by time, memory and a touch of magic. Before we begin, if you enjoy these stories and want to help keep this space alive, feel free to like and subscribe, and in the comments, is there a folk tale from your homeland you've never forgotten? It's always beautiful to read the stories that shaped you from every corner of the world. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan or crack the window. Let the hum of the world soften. Let go of the day and let folklore be your lullaby. Tonight, you are traveling to a place that exists in the space between knowing and unknowing, between who you thought you were and who you have always been. A place where bloodlines run deeper than memory, where stones remember kings and queens whose names have been lost to time. The highland air is gathering around you now, soft and cool, carrying whispers of pine and peat smoke, of rain-washed battlements and wild roses growing over forgotten crests. Feel the familiar world fading at the edges, like frost touched by the first warm breath of spring. The sounds of your ordinary life fade to nothing. There is only this, your breath, steady and sure, the calling of something ancient and patient, something that has been waiting for you in the heart of a Scottish castle, whose keys have been kept for you across centuries. And so now, in this quiet between moments, your story begins. The letter from the north. You find yourself standing in a solicitor's office that smells of old leather and beeswax. Though you cannot remember how you came to be here, the walls are lined with books bound in deep burgundy, their spines marked with gold lettering that seems to shimmer in the lamplight. Behind a desk of polished oak sits a gentleman with silver hair and kind eyes, wearing a waistcoat the colour of Highland heather. "I am sorry it has taken so long to find you," he says, his voice carrying the soft burr of the Highlands. "These matters of inheritance can be complicated, especially when the bloodlines run so deep and the records have been scattered by time and circumstance." In his hands he holds a letter, sealed with red wax that bears the impression of a crown, surmounted by 3 stars. The parchment is cream-coloured and heavy, the kind of paper that speaks of weight and consequence, of words that change the course of lives. "Your great-grandmother," he continues, "was Lady Cowen he MacLeod of Dunedin Castle. She left Scotland in 1924, carrying with her a secret that she swore never to reveal. But secrets have a way of surfacing, especially when they involve matters of, shall we say, royal significance." He extends the letter toward you and your fingers tremble slightly as you take it. The wax seal feels warm beneath your touch, as if it has been waiting all this time for your hand to break it open. The weight of the parchment surprises you. It seems to hold more than mere words, more than simple information. "Go ahead," the solicitor says gently. "It has waited long enough for you to read it." You break the seal, and it crumbles away like autumn leaves. The parchment unfolds with a whisper, revealing words written in an elegant hand, the ink still dark after all these years. "My dearest descendant, if you are reading this letter, then the time has come for you to know the truth that I have carried in silence for more than 50 years. You are not who you think you are, or rather, you are much more than you have ever imagined. You are the last of the MacLeod line, the final heir to Dunedin Castle, and all the lands that stretch from the loch to the sea. But more than that, and this will sound like the fancy of an old woman's dreams, you are descended from the ancient kings of this realm, from the line that ruled these mountains when the world was younger, and the boundaries between the mortal realm and the realm of the Seelie Court were not so firmly drawn. The castle waits for you as it has waited for 3 generations. Its stones remember your blood, though they have never felt your footsteps in their halls. The crown waits too, hidden away in a place known only to the walls themselves, for I could not bear to see it leave Scotland, though I myself had to depart. Come home, child of my heart. Come home and take your place in the line of those who have guarded the border between the worlds, who have kept the ancient treaties, who have held the balance between what is seen and what is hidden. The solicitor will have the keys. The castle will open its doors to you as it opens them to no other. Trust what you feel when you walk those halls. Trust what the stones tell you. Trust the blood that runs in your veins, for it remembers what your mind has forgotten. With all my love, and all my hopes, Lady Cowen he MacLeod, last queen of the hidden realm. The letter trembles in your hands, though whether from your emotion or some power within the words themselves, you cannot say. The solicitor watches you with patient eyes, as if he has seen this moment play out countless times in other lives, other stories. "Is it true?" you whisper, the words barely audible in the lamplit quiet of the office. "Truth is a strange thing in the Highlands," he replies. "What matters is not whether it sounds true to the rational mind, but whether it feels true to the heart that remembers deeper things than reason. The castle is real enough. The inheritance is real enough. As for the rest," he spreads his hands in a gesture that encompasses mystery. "Perhaps you will discover that for yourself." He opens a drawer in the desk and withdraws a ring of keys, each one different from the others. Some brass, some iron, some made of metals that seem to shift color in the lamplight. The ring itself is silver, worked with the same 3-starred crown that sealed the letter. "The keys to Dune Dian," he says, placing them in your palm. "The castle is yours by right of blood and by right of law. What you do with that inheritance, well, that is your choice to make." The keys are warm in your hand, as if they have been waiting by a fire all this time. Each one seems to pulse with its own subtle life, its own purpose and power. You close your fingers around them, and for a moment, just a moment, you swear you can hear something, distant music perhaps, or the sound of waves against ancient stone. "How do I get there?" you ask. The solicitor smiles. "Follow the old road north past the standing stones, until you come to the lock that reflects 2 moons on clear nights. You will know the place when you see it. The castle stands on an island, connected to the shore by a bridge that appears only for those who have the right to cross it." As he speaks, the office around you begins to fade, becoming translucent, insubstantial. The highland mist is rising again, wrapping around you like a traveling cloak, carrying you away from the world of legal documents and ordinary explanations into something far older and stranger. "Remember," the solicitor's voice follows you as you drift into the mist, growing fainter with each word. "You are not just inheriting a castle. You are inheriting a responsibility, a trust that has been passed down through generations. The crown that waits for you is not made of gold and jewels, but of something far more precious, the wisdom to guard the places where wonder still lives in the world." The road to the lock. You find yourself walking along a narrow road that winds through the highland landscape like a silver thread through green cloth. The mist moves around you as you walk, sometimes thick enough to hide the mountains, sometimes parting to reveal vistas of impossible beauty, locks that shine like mirrors, forests where the trees seem to whisper ancient secrets, hills that rise like sleeping giants against the sky. The keys at your belt chime softly with each step, their music seeming to harmonize with the rhythm of your footsteps on the old stone road. This is a path that has been walked by countless feet over countless years, pilgrims and kings, merchants and soldiers, lovers traveling to distant weddings and children seeking their fortunes in the wide world. But today, the road belongs to you alone. Today, you are the only traveler on this ancient way, following the route that your great-grandmother walked in reverse when she left Scotland all those years ago, carrying her secret like a crown of thorns in her heart. As you walk, the landscape around you begins to change in subtle ways. The trees grow taller and more ancient, their trunks thick enough that it would take 4 people holding hands to encircle them. The stones by the roadside are carved with symbols that seem familiar though you have never seen them before. Spirals and knotwork, stars and crescent moons, patterns that speak of power and protection, and the careful balance between order and wild magic. "You have MacLeod blood," a voice says beside you, though when you turn, you see only a red deer standing at the forest's edge, its antlers crowned with morning mist. The stones know it, the land knows it, even the deer know it, for we have been the messengers of your family for generations beyond counting. You stop walking though, the road seems to continue moving beneath your feet, carrying you forward without effort. The deer steps closer, and its eyes hold intelligence that goes far beyond the animal realm. "I don't understand any of this," you say, surprised that speaking to a deer feels like the most natural thing in the world. "Understanding is not required," the deer replies, its voice like wind through pine needles. "Acceptance is enough, trust is enough. The blood that runs in your veins carries memories older than conscious thought. Let it guide you as it guided your ancestors before you." The deer turns and bounds away into the forest, but its words remain with you as you continue along the road. You begin to notice that your footsteps are falling into a rhythm that feels ancient, familiar, as if your body remembers walking this path, even though your mind insists this is the first time. The standing stones appear gradually through the mist, emerging like ships from a grey sea. They stand in a rough circle beside the road, each one taller than 2 people. their surfaces weathered smooth by centuries of highland weather. But as you approach them, you can see that they are not simply ancient markers. They are guardians, watchers, keepers of some profound trust. The keys at your belt grow warm as you pass between the stones, and for a moment the air shimmers around you like heat waves rising from summer pavement. You feel a strange sensation, as if you are being examined, evaluated, judged by intelligences, vast and patient, and utterly alien to human understanding. Then the moment passes, and you hear something that might be approval, might be welcome, might be the sigh of relief that comes when a long watch finally ends. The stones have recognized you, accepted you, given you their blessing to continue on the road that leads to your inheritance. Beyond the stone circle, the landscape opens up to reveal a lock of such beauty that it takes your breath away. The water stretches before you like a sheet of polished silver, reflecting the sky so perfectly that it becomes impossible to tell where water ends and air begins. Mountains rise on all sides, their peaks disappearing into low-hanging clouds that seem to glow with their own inner light. And there, in the center of the loch, stands Dunedin Castle. It is not the grim fortress you might have expected, all towering walls and narrow windows designed for war. Instead, it is a place of unexpected grace. Its stones the color of honey and cream, its towers reaching toward the sky like prayers made manifest in granite and mortar. Banners fly from its highest points, though the wind that moves them seems to come from no earthly source. A bridge spans the water between the shore and the castle island, but it is unlike any bridge you have ever seen. It appears to be made of moonlight and starshine, of crystallized music and solidified dreams. Its stones, if they are stones, glow with a soft pearl-like radiance that makes the water beneath them shine like liquid silver. The bridge of calling, you whisper, though you do not know where the name comes from. It appears only for those who have the right to cross. And indeed, as you watch, the bridge grows more solid, more real, its stones gaining weight and substance as if your presence, your recognition, your acceptance of this impossible inheritance is what makes it possible. The keys at your belt chime once, a clear note that echoes across the water and seems to be answered by bells ringing from the castle's towers. You step onto the bridge, and it holds your weight as surely as any structure built of ordinary stone. But with each step you take across the water, you feel yourself changing, becoming more than you were. The blood in your veins seems to flow differently, carrying not just oxygen and nutrients, but memory and purpose, and the weight of generations of royal responsibility. The castle grows larger as you approach, revealing details that were hidden by distance and mist. The walls are carved with the same symbols you saw on the roadside stones, but here they are more elaborate, more complex, telling stories that span centuries. You see battles and treaties, coronations and farewells, all carved into the living stone by craftsmen whose skills bordered on the magical. The great doors of the castle stand open, waiting for you. They are made of oak, older than memory, bound with iron, worked into patterns of incredible delicacy, and above them, carved into the lintel in letters that seem to move and shift in the corner of your vision, are words in a language that you do not recognize, but somehow understand. Welcome home, child of the ancient blood. Welcome home, keeper of the crown of stars. Welcome home, guardian of the bridge between worlds. You cross the threshold, and the keys in your hand grow warm as summer sunlight. You are home at last, though you never knew you had a home to return to. You are where you belong, though you never knew there was a place where you belonged. You are who you were always meant to be, though you never knew there was anyone else you could become. The Castle of Memory. The great hall of Dunedin Castle stretches before you like a cathedral built not for worship but for wonder. The ceiling vaults upward into shadows that seem to hold their own light, and the walls are lined with tapestries that move gently, though there is no wind to stir them. Each tapestry tells a story, some of them historical, depicting battles and celebrations and royal weddings, others clearly mythical, showing encounters between mortals and beings of power and beauty that belong to no earthly realm. Your footsteps echo on stones worn smooth by generations of royal feet, and with each echo you hear something else. The whisper of voices speaking words of welcome, the rustle of silk gowns, and the clink of ceremonial armor, the distant sound of harps playing melodies that seem to come from the very walls themselves. You have returned, a voice says, and you turn to see a woman standing beside one of the great pillars that support the vaulted ceiling. She is tall and elegant, wearing a gown the color of twilight, her dark hair crowned with a circlet of silver stars. Her face is ageless in the way that speaks of more than mortal blood, and her eyes hold depths that seem to contain all the wisdom of the Highland hills. "I am Muren," she says, inclining her head in a gesture that manages to be both greeting and reverence. "I was your great-grandmother's closest friend, her advisor, her companion in the duties that fell to her as the last known heir of the MacLeod line. I have been waiting here for you, keeping the castle ready for your return. But that's impossible," you say, though the words feel hollow, even as you speak them. "My great-grandmother left nearly 100 years ago. You would have to be ancient." Muren laughs, and her laughter sounds like silver bells ringing across water. "Time moves differently here, child of the royal blood. I am of the Sealy Court, one of the fair folk who have served the MacLeod line since the first stones of this castle were laid. To us, a century is but a season, a decade but a day." She gestures for you to follow her, and she leads you deeper into the castle, through corridors lined with portraits that seem to watch your passage with knowing eyes. Here hangs a king with your own eyes. Though his lived 1,000 years ago, there stands a queen whose smile matches your own, though she died before your grandmother was born. "The blood runs true," Muren observes, noting your attention to the portraits. "Each generation may live in ignorance of their heritage, but the heritage lives on in them nonetheless. You have your ancestor Alasdair's way of tilting your head when you're thinking deeply. You have Queen Sorka's habit of touching your throat when you're nervous. The crown will recognize you as surely as night recognizes day." "What crown?" you ask, though you suspect you already know. "The crown of forgotten stones," Muren replies. "The symbol and the source of the MacLeod sovereignty. It was made in the earliest days when the boundaries between the mortal realm and the otherworld were fluid. When kings and queens ruled not through force of arms but through wisdom and the ability to maintain the delicate balance between what is seen and what is hidden." She leads you up a spiral staircase whose steps are made of different kinds of stone, granite and marble, obsidian and crystal, each one singing a different note as your feet touch it. The music they create is complex and beautiful, a stone symphony that tells the history of the castle, the story of the royal line, the song of the crown that waits above. "Your great-grandmother was the last to wear it," Muren continues as you climb. "She bore the responsibility for nearly 30 years, maintaining the treaties between the mortal world and the realm of the fair folk, keeping the ancient ways alive, even as the world around her grew more skeptical, more rational, more convinced that magic was nothing but superstition and fairy tales." The staircase opens onto a circular chamber at the top of the castle's highest tower. The walls are made entirely of windows, giving a view of the loch and the mountains that seems to encompass all of Scotland, but your attention is immediately drawn to the centre of the room, where a pedestal of white stone supports a cushion of midnight blue velvet, and on the cushion rests the crown of forgotten stones. It is not what you expected. There is no gold, no silver, no precious metals at all. Instead, the crown is made of stones, each one different, each one pulsing with its own inner light. There is a stone that holds the deep blue of ocean depths, another that glows with the green fire of northern lights. There is a stone black as starless night, and another white as fresh snow, a stone red as heart's blood, and another clear as mountain spring water. Each stone represents a different aspect of the sovereignty, Muren explains. The blue stone holds the wisdom of the depths, the knowledge that comes from looking below the surface of things. The green stone holds the power of growth and renewal, the ability to help things flourish. The black stone holds the courage to face the dark times, the strength to endure when endurance is all that remains. The white stone holds purity of purpose, the ability to see clearly what needs to be done. The red stone holds compassion, the understanding that power exists to serve, not to rule. And the clear stone holds truth, the gift of seeing through lies and deceptions to the heart of what is real. As she speaks, the stones pulse brighter, as if responding to her words or to your presence. You can feel their power from where you stand, a warmth that reaches out to touch something deep in your chest, something that has been sleeping in your blood for all the years of your life. But why me, you ask? I don't know anything about being royal. I don't know how to rule a kingdom or maintain treaties with the fair folk. I don't even know how to wear a crown. The crown will teach you, Muren says simply. It holds the accumulated wisdom of all who have worn it before you. When you place it on your head, you will remember what your blood has always known, but your mind has forgotten. You will understand your purpose, your power, your responsibility to guard the places where wonder still lives in the world. She steps aside, leaving you alone with the crown. It waits on its cushion, patient as the stones from which it is made, certain as the mountains that surround the lot. You can feel it calling to you, not with words but with something deeper. The same pull that brought you to the castle, the same recognition that opened the bridge across the water. Slowly, carefully, you reach out and lift the crown of forgotten stones from its resting place. It is lighter than you expected, but heavier too, as if it weighs almost nothing in your hands but carries the weight of centuries in its purpose. The stones pulse against your palms, warm and alive, welcoming you home to a heritage you never knew you carried. You raise the crown and place it on your head. The awakening of memory. The moment the crown of forgotten stones settles onto your brow, the world explodes into light and memory, and knowing you are still yourself, still standing in the tower room of Junaidian Castle. But you are also suddenly, overwhelmingly more than yourself. You are connected to every MacLeod who has ever worn this crown, every king and queen who has shouldered the responsibility of guardianship between the worlds. The memories flow through you like water through a dry riverbed, filling spaces you didn't know were empty. You remember, though, the memories are not your own. The first MacLeod king, Cian the Wise, who made the original treaty with the Sealy court when the world was young, and the boundaries between realms were marked by standing stones and sacred groves rather than maps and borders. You remember Queen Brigid the Peacemaker, who ended the war between the land-dwelling fairfolk and the sea-dwelling merfolk by weaving a treaty out of moonbeams and tide song. You remember King Donald the Steadfast, who held the realm together during the Great Plague, when ordinary folk fled to distant lands and only the magic touched remained to tend the sick and dying. You remember Queen Sorka the Storyteller, who discovered that the most powerful magic lay not in spells and enchantments, but in the stories that connect heart to heart, the tales that help people remember who they truly are beneath the roles they play in the waking world. And you remember your great-grandmother, Lady Kaemhi, the last to wear the crown before you. You feel her sorrow as she made the decision to leave Scotland, to take the crown into exile rather than see it corrupted by a world that had lost its faith in wonder. You feel her hope as she hid the crown away, trusting that someday someone of her blood would return to claim it and restore the ancient balance. Do you understand now? Nguyen asks, though her voice seems to come from very far away, filtered through the cascade of royal memory that pours through your consciousness. You do understand. The crown is not just a symbol of authority, it is a living connection to the other world, a bridge that allows the wearer to communicate with beings of power and magic, to negotiate treaties that keep the balance between the seen and unseen realms. For generations, the MacLeod line has served as ambassadors, mediators, guardians of the places where the rational world touches the realm of wonder. But more than that, you understand that this role is not about ruling over others, but about serving something greater than yourself. The crown does not make you a monarch in the ordinary sense. It makes you a steward, a protector, a keeper of the sacred trust that ensures magic does not vanish entirely from a world that grows more skeptical with each passing year. The treaties have been neglected, Muren continues, and now you can see what she means. Through the crown's enhanced perception, you can see the fraying edges of the ancient agreements, the places where the boundaries between worlds have grown thin and unstable. Without a crowned MacLeod to maintain the delicate balance, the treaties have begun to unravel, creating chaos in both realms. The fair folk grow restless, she explains. Some speak of withdrawing entirely from the mortal world, taking their magic with them, and leaving humans to live in a universe of pure matter and empty rationalism. Others grow angry, wanting to reveal themselves dramatically, to prove their existence through displays of power that would shatter the careful secrecy that has protected both our peoples for centuries. Through the crown's insight, you can see the consequences of either choice. A world without magic would be grey and lifeless, drained of wonder and mystery, inhabited by people who had forgotten how to dream. But a world where the magical folk revealed themselves through anger and force would be chaos, humans fleeing in terror from beings they could neither understand nor control, while the fair folk found themselves hunted and persecuted by those who feared what they could not comprehend. What can I do? You ask. Though even as you speak the question, the crown is already showing you the answer. You can restore the balance, Muren says. You can renew the treaties, strengthen the boundaries, create new agreements that serve both realms in these changing times. But it will not be easy. It will require wisdom beyond your years, courage beyond your experience, and a willingness to sacrifice your own desires for the good of both worlds. The crown pulses against your temples, and suddenly you can see them, representatives of the fair folk gathered in the great hall below, waiting for you to descend and take your place as their negotiating partner. There is the Lord of the Summer Court, tall and golden-haired, his presence radiating warmth and growth, and the wild joy of the harvest season. There is the Lady of the Winter Court, pale and beautiful as fresh snow, her touch bringing the peace of deep sleep and the wisdom that comes from quiet reflection. There are the guardians of the sacred groves, ancient beings who tend the trees that serve as doorways between the worlds. There are the keepers of the stone circles, who maintain the standing stones that mark the places of power. There are the shepherds of the wild hunt, who lead the ghostly riders across the sky on nights when the boundary between life and death grows thin. All of them have come to Dumadian Castle, to meet with the new MacLeod ruler, to see if you are worthy of the trust that has been placed in you, to discover whether you can indeed restore the ancient balance and renew the treaties that keep both worlds safe. Are you ready? Muren asks. You look out through the tower windows at the loch that reflects two moons on clear nights, at the mountains that rise like sleeping guardians around your inherited realm. You feel the weight of the crown on your head, not heavy with gold and jewels, but substantial with responsibility and purpose, and the accumulated wisdom of your royal ancestors. You are ready. Not because you feel prepared. No one could be prepared for such a destiny, but because the crown has awakened something in your blood that was always there waiting for the right moment to emerge. You are a MacLeod, heir to the throne of the hidden realm, guardian of the bridge between worlds. This is what you were born to be, even if you never knew it until now. I am ready, you say, and your voice carries new authority, new certainty. The crown has made you royal, not through birthright alone, but through acceptance of the sacred duty that comes with royal blood. Together, you and Muren descend the spiral staircase, its stone steps singing a song of welcome and preparation. Below, in the great hall of Dumadian Castle, the representatives of the other world wait to greet their new queen, their new partner in the ancient dance that keeps both realms in harmony. Your reign is about to begin. The court of two worlds, the great hall has been transformed in your absence, though by what power you cannot say. The tapestries on the walls now move, with true life, their woven figures stepping out of their threads to bow as you enter. The fire in the great hearth burns with flames of every color, gold and silver, blue and green, purple and rose, casting light that seems to come from some source beyond mere combustion. The representatives of the fair folk stand in a great circle around the hall, each one magnificent and terrible in their own way. As you enter wearing the crown of forgotten stones, they turn toward you with expressions that range from curious to hopeful to quietly skeptical. These are beings who have negotiated with your ancestors for 1,000 years or more. They will not be easily impressed by good intentions or noble birth alone. Behold, Muren announces, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast hall, the air of Chion the Wise, the blood of Brigid the Peacemaker, the successor to Kawinhi the Exile. Behold, the new guardian of the crown, keeper of the ancient treaties, sovereign of the hidden realm. The silence that follows is profound, filled with the weight of evaluation and judgment. These beings see more than mortal eyes can perceive. They are looking not just at your appearance, but at your character, your intentions, your fitness to bear the responsibilities that come with the crown you wear. The Lord of the Summer Court steps forward first, and as he moves, flowers bloom in his footsteps, roses and lilies, daffodils and heather, all blooming out of season but perfect in their impossible beauty. He is tall as a tree and golden as sunlight, his hair crowned with oak leaves that shift through all the colors of autumn, even as you watch. I am Lurk of the Long Hand, he says, his voice like wind through wheat fields, like bees humming in apple blossoms. I speak for those who tend the growing things, who bring the harvest, who dance in the light of the sun. The treaties between our peoples have grown weak with neglect. The sacred groves are dying, the ancient rituals forgotten. What will you do to restore the balance, young queen? Before you can answer, the Lady of the Winter Court glides forward, frost forming in her wake. She is beautiful as starlight on snow, her hair white as ice, her gown woven from winter mist and northern lights. Her presence brings not cold, but peace, the deep rest that comes after long labor. I am Calic of the Snows, she says, her voice like wind through pine branches. like the hush that falls when the first snow begins to fall. I speak for those who guard the deep wisdom, who tend the fires that burn through the longest nights, who know the secrets that can only be learned in silence and solitude. The boundaries between the worlds grow thin and chaotic. Wild magic leaks through where it should be contained, while the places of true power are forgotten and abandoned. What will you do to restore order, young queen? More voices join theirs. The guardian of the stone circles speaks of ancient markers that have been moved or destroyed, their power scattered to the winds. The keeper of the sacred wells tells of springs that have been polluted or filled in, their healing properties lost to development and neglect. The shepherd of the wild hunt warns of souls that have become lost between the worlds, unable to find their way to proper rest. Each speaker brings new concerns, new problems that have arisen in the years since the crown was last worn. You listen with growing understanding, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on your shoulders like a royal mantle. These are not simple problems with easy solutions. They are complex issues that will require wisdom, patience, and the kind of careful diplomacy that can only come from truly understanding both worlds. I hear your concerns, you say at last, your voice steady, despite the magnitude of what you face, and I accept the responsibility to address them. But I am new to this crown, new to this knowledge of my heritage. I will need your guidance, your patience, your wisdom to help me learn how to serve both our peoples well. A murmur runs through the assembled court. Surprise, perhaps, or approval. Many rulers, mortal and otherwise, begin their reigns with grand pronouncements and bold promises. Few begin with admissions of ignorance and requests for help. The crown chooses its bearer, says a new voice, and you turn to see an ancient figure stepping from the shadows beside the great fireplace. This is someone older than the others, more primal, wearing robes that seem to be made of twilight itself. I am the keeper of the first treaties, the one who helped your ancestor Chiun write the original agreements that bind our peoples together in mutual respect and protection. The keeper approaches you slowly, each step measured and deliberate. When they speak again, their voice carries the weight of ages, the authority of one who has seen empires rise and fall, who has watched the slow dance of history unfold across centuries. The crown of forgotten stones does not simply rest upon the head. It reads the heart. It would not accept you if you were unworthy, would not grant you its power if you lacked the essential qualities needed for this role. That you feel unprepared speaks well of you. Wisdom begins with knowing what you do not know. They reach out and touch one of the stones in your crown, the clear one that holds the gift of truth. And suddenly you can see more clearly than ever before. You see the invisible threads that connect all the beings in this hall, the complex web of relationships and obligations that bind the two worlds together. You see the places where those threads have broken or grown weak, where new connections need to be forged. The treaties were never meant to be unchanging, the keeper continues. They were designed to grow and adapt as both worlds changed and evolved. Your role is not to restore things to exactly as they were, but to help them become what they need to be for the world as it is now. With this new clarity, you begin to understand what needs to be done. The ancient treaties were written for a time when humans lived closer to the land, when the boundaries between the rational and the magical were naturally permeable. But the modern world is different, more skeptical, more scientific, more inclined to explain away anything that doesn't fit into accepted categories. We need new kinds of treaties, you say. The words coming to you as if spoken by the crown itself, agreements that acknowledge how the world has changed while preserving what needs to be preserved. We need to find ways for magic to exist alongside science, for wonder to coexist with reason. And how would you propose to do that? Asks Lug of the summer court, genuine curiosity in his golden eyes. The answer comes to you in a rush of inspiration, guided by the accumulated wisdom of all the MacLeod rulers who came before you. Through stories, you say, through art and music and literature, through the dreams we give our children and the myths we tell ourselves about who we are and how the world works. The assembled court grows very still, listening intently as you continue. Magic doesn't have to be obvious to be real. It doesn't have to be provable to be powerful. If we can keep the stories alive, if we can preserve the places of power in ways that don't threaten the modern world's need for rationality, if we can let people choose to believe or not believe while keeping the option and wonder always available, a treaty of the imagination, breathes Kalik of the Winter Court. A covenant that preserves magic by making it optional, that keeps wonder alive by allowing it to hide in plain sight. Exactly, you say, feeling the rightness of the idea resonate through the crown and into your bones. Let the sacred groves be preserved as nature reserves. Let the standing stones be protected as historical monuments. Let the ancient festivals be celebrated as cultural traditions, and for those who choose to see deeper, who choose to believe in more than what can be measured and weighed, let the true power be there for them to find. The Lord of the Summer Court begins to smile, and where his joy touches the air, golden butterflies spring into existence, dancing around the hall in spirals of light and laughter. It could work, he says. It preserves both truth and mystery, both protection and revelation. It honors the choice that lies at the heart of all true magic, agrees the Lady of the Winter Court. The choice to see beyond the surface, to believe in possibilities that reason cannot prove. One by one, the other representatives of the fair folk voice their approval, their willingness to try this new approach to the ancient treaties. It will not be easy. It will require constant vigilance, careful negotiation, endless small adjustments, as the two worlds continue to change and grow. But it offers hope where there was despair, possibility where there was deadlock. Then let it be so, says the keeper of the first treaties, raising their hands in a gesture of formal blessing. Let the new covenant be written, the fresh treaties sealed. Let the reign of the newest MacLeod begin, not with conquest but with collaboration, not with dominion but with service to the greater good of both our peoples. The stones in your crown pulse with brilliant light as the words of blessing settle around you like a mantle of starfire. You feel the weight of your new responsibilities, but also the strength to bear them. You are no longer simply yourself. You are the bridge between worlds, the guardian of wonder, the keeper of the crown that ensures magic will never entirely vanish from the world. Outside the castle windows, the loch reflects not two moons, but a whole sky full of stars, as if the heavens themselves are celebrating this new beginning. The ancient bloodline has awakened. The crown has found its rightful bearer, and the bridge between worlds stands strong once more. The wisdom of stones. In the days that follow, though time moves strangely in Dunedian Castle, and you cannot always tell if hours or weeks are passing in the world beyond, you learn what it truly means to wear the crown of forgotten stones. Each morning, you wake to find new knowledge flowering in your mind, like spring blossoms, memories and skills that belong to your royal ancestors now becoming part of your own understanding. You learn the language of the standing stones, how to read the messages they carry across the landscape like a network of ancient communication. You discover that every stone circle tells a story. Every dolmen marks a place where the boundaries between worlds grow thin. Every isolated monolith serves as a beacon for travelers lost between realms. Muren becomes your teacher in these mysteries, guiding you through the castle's many chambers, each one holding its own lessons. In the Tower of Echoes, you learn to hear the voices of petitioners from across both worlds. A farmer whose fields have been blighted by wild magic, a scholar seeking permission to study in the other world's great libraries, a child who has accidentally wandered through a fairy ring and needs help finding their way home. In the Hall of Mirrors, you practice the delicate art of seeing truth through illusion, learning to perceive the real needs and desires that hide behind the formal requests of your supernatural courtiers. Not every problem requires a treaty or a royal decree. Sometimes what people need most is simply to be heard, to be acknowledged, to be reminded that they matter in the vast scheme of things. In the Garden of Seasons, where summer and winter flowers bloom side by side under a sky that holds both sun and stars, you learn the deeper mysteries of balance. Here, Lug of the Summer Court and Calic of the Winter Court meet each twilight to share the wisdom of their respective realms, teaching you that apparent opposites are often complementary forces, two sides of a greater unity. The crown does not make you all-knowing, Calic explains as you walk among impossible roses that bloom with frost on their petals, that it does make you all-questioning. The wisdom you need will come to you, but only if you remember to ask the right question. And how do I know which questions are right? You ask. Listen to the stones, Luke replies, his golden laughter warming the evening air. Listen to your heart. Listen to the silence between words, the space between heartbeats. The right questions are the ones that lead to deeper understanding, not just clever answers. As the nights pass, you begin to understand that ruling the hidden realm is unlike any other form of governance. You have no armies to command, no taxes to collect, no territories to defend. Instead, you have relationships to maintain, balances to preserve, and the delicate task of ensuring that two very different worlds can coexist without destroying each other. Your subjects are not passive recipients of royal edicts, but active partners in the great work of maintaining harmony between realms. Every treaty you negotiate must be acceptable to both sides. Every decision you make must serve the greater good rather than advancing your own power or preferences. This is the secret that mortal rulers never learn, Muren tells you, as you stand together on the castle's highest balcony, looking out over the loch where selkies play in the moonlight. True power comes not from the ability to control others, but from the willingness to serve something greater than yourself. The crown makes you a servant of the balance, a guardian of the sacred trust between worlds. You feel the truth of her words resonate through the stones of your crown, each one pulsing with agreement. The blue stone of wisdom reminds you that knowledge is only valuable when used to help others. The green stone of growth whispers that your own development as a ruler depends on your ability to nurture harmony in those you serve. The red stone of compassion fills your heart with love for all the beings, mortal and magical, who depend on your careful stewardship. One evening, as you sit in the castle's great library reading treaties written in languages that shift between human script and fairy runes, a new petitioner arrives. This one is different from the others, not a representative of the fair folk, but a human child, perhaps 7 years old, with dirt on her knees and leaves in her hair. "How did you get here?" you ask, setting down the ancient tome you were studying. "I followed the lights," she says simply. "They were dancing in the woods behind my house, and I wanted to dance with them. But then I got lost, and I've been wandering for so long, and I can't find my way home." Through the crown's enhanced perception, you can see what has happened. The child wandered into a fairy ring during the brief time when the boundaries between worlds grow permeable, and she has been caught in the spaces between realms, neither fully in the mortal world, nor fully in the Kemner world. This is exactly the kind of situation the new treaties are designed to address. Not a grand diplomatic crisis, but a small, human problem that requires both magical understanding and practical compassion to solve. "Don't worry," you tell the child, kneeling so that you are at her eye level. "I know exactly how to get you home. But first, would you like some hot chocolate and biscuits? It's been a long journey for such a little traveler." As you lead the child to the castle's warm kitchen, where the hearth fire burns with comforting orange flames and the smell of baking bread fills the air, you feel a deep satisfaction settle in your bones. This is what the crown is for. Not grand ceremonies or impressive displays of power, but moments like this, when you can use the gifts of your heritage to help someone find their way home. The stones in your crown pulse gently as you serve the child a mug of steaming chocolate and a plate of warm oatcakes. Tomorrow, you will work with Muren to safely return her to the mortal world, complete with magical protections to ensure that she remembers her adventure as a beautiful dream rather than a frightening ordeal. But tonight, you simply sit with her by the fire, listening to her chatter about her favorite toys and her pet cat, and the flower garden she helps her grandmother tend, and you understand, perhaps for the first time, that being royal means being fully present for every subject who needs your help, no matter how small or simple their request might be. This is the deepest magic of the Crown of Forgotten Stones, not the power to command armies or control the weather, but the ability to see each individual soul as precious, worthy of care, deserving of protection. You are the guardian of wonder, the keeper of the bridge between worlds, and every act of kindness you perform strengthens that bridge, makes it more likely that magic will survive in a world that grows more skeptical with each passing day. The song that binds. On the night when the new treaties are finally ready to be signed, the castle fills with music unlike anything you have ever heard. It begins at sunset, a single note sung by Kailich of the Winter Court, pure and clear as crystal bells in frosty air. Then Look of the Summer Court adds his voice, warm and golden as honey flowing from the comb, harmonizing with winter's clarity to create something entirely new. One by one, the other representatives of the fair folk join the growing symphony. The guardian of the stone circles adds the deep bass notes that resonate in the bones, the rhythm that has pulsed through the earth since the first stones were raised. The keeper of the sacred wells contributes a melody that bubbles and flows like water over smooth stones, carrying healing and renewal in every note. You find yourself joining the song without conscious decision, your voice finding its place in the harmony as naturally as water finds its way to the sea. The Crown of Forgotten Stones helps you understand that this is more than music. It is the actual substance of the new treaties woven out of sound and intention, binding the two worlds together with threads of melody and rhythm. This is how the first treaties were made. Muren explains, her own voice adding silver threads to the tapestry of song, not with ink and parchment, but with music that speaks directly to the heart, bypassing the rational mind that might find reasons to doubt or object. The song builds slowly, gathering power and complexity as it grows. You can feel it reaching out from the castle, touching every sacred site in Scotland, awakening the standing stones and stone circles, calling to the fair folk who dwell in hidden places throughout the land. This is a covenant that will be felt in every bone, remembered in every heartbeat, carried in the wind that blows across the highlands and islands. As your voice weaves through the growing harmony, you feel yourself changing once again. The crown's power flows through you more freely now, and you begin to understand that this is what you have been preparing for, not just to rule the hidden realm, but to become a living bridge between worlds, a person who embodies the treaty in their very being. The song reaches its crescendo as midnight approaches, and in that moment of perfect harmony, you feel the new covenant settle into place like a key, turning in a long-locked door. The boundaries between worlds are still there, but they are more flexible now, more responsive to need and intention rather than rigid and absolute. "It is done," says the keeper of the first treaties, their ancient voice carrying satisfaction and relief. The new age begins. Magic will remain in the world, hidden but available, secret but not lost. And you, heir of the MacLeod line, will guard the balance between revelation and concealment, between wonder and rationality. As the last notes of the binding song fade into silence, you feel a profound sense of completion. You came to this castle as someone seeking answers about an unexpected inheritance, and you leave, though you are not yet leaving, may never truly leave, as someone who has found their true purpose in life. The crown of forgotten stones settles more comfortably on your head now, no longer feeling like something foreign, but like part of your own body, your own identity. You are royal, not because of birth alone, but because of acceptance, not because of power, but because of service, not because of what you can take, but because of what you can give. Outside the castle windows, the loch reflects stars that seem brighter than before, as if the new treaties have somehow enhanced the connection between earth and sky, between the mundane and the magical. In the distance you can see lights moving through the forests and hills, the fair folk returning to their own domains, carrying word of the new covenant to every corner of the hidden world. "What happens now?" you ask Muren, as the castle grows quiet around you. "Now you learn to live as both worlds require," she replies. "You will spend part of your time here, in Dunedian, tending to the needs of the hidden realm, but you will also return to the ordinary world, carrying the treaties in your heart, watching for places where the balance needs adjustment, where the old agreements need new interpretation. Will people know? Will they be able to tell that I'm different?" Muren smiles. "Some will. Those who have eyes to see, hearts to feel, souls that remember the old stories. Children will know, most of them. Artists and dreamers will sense something. But to most people, you will simply seem like someone who pays attention to the world around them. Someone who notices the small magics that happen every day, a butterfly landing on a shoulder, a perfect sunset, a song that seems to come from nowhere and touches the heart directly." You nod, understanding. The greatest magic is often the most subtle, the most easily overlooked by those who are too busy to pay attention. Your role will be to keep those small magics alive, to protect the spaces where wonder can flourish, to ensure that there is always room in the world for mystery and beauty and the kind of truth that can only be felt, never proven. "And the crown?" you ask, touching the stones that now feel like part of your own skull. "Will be with you always, though not always visible," Muren explains. "When you are in the ordinary world, it will appear as something else. Perhaps a simple circlet of silver, perhaps a necklace of unusual stones, perhaps just a faint shimmer in your hair that makes people look twice without knowing why. But its power will remain, its purpose unchanged." You take one last look around the great hall of Dunedian Castle, memorizing the tapestries that dance in their frames, the fire that burns with rainbow flames, the sense of being at the center of something vast and important and eternal. This is your home now, your responsibility, your joy and burden both. But it is not a burden that you carry alone. You are connected now to every MacLeod who came before you, every ruler who wore the crown and kept the balance and served the greater good. You are part of a lineage that stretches back to the dawn of time and forward to whatever future awaits, a chain of guardians ensuring that magic will never entirely disappear from the world. The inheritance you discovered in that lawyer's office was so much more than a castle and a crown. It was a purpose, a calling, a reason for being that your heart had been searching for, without knowing what it sought. You are royal blood awakened, ancient responsibility accepted, the bridge between worlds made flesh and walking in the everyday world. The bridge between worlds. As dawn breaks over the loch, painting the water gold, and rose, and silver, you stand on the castle's highest balcony, and look out over your realm. It is smaller than most kingdoms. Just this castle, this island, this stretch of highland water surrounded by hills that rise like sleeping guardians. But it is also vast beyond measuring, encompassing not just geography but the entire relationship between what is seen and what is hidden, what is known and what is dreamed. Every ruler must learn to see their kingdom truly, Muren says, joining you in the morning light. Some see only territory to be controlled, resources to be exploited, subjects to be commanded, but you must see the connections, the relationships, the delicate web of interdependence that makes life possible. Through the enhanced perception that the crown provides, you can see what she means. The loch is not just water, but a highway travelled by beings of power and mystery. The hills are not just stone and soil, but repositories of memory and magic, holding the stories of everyone who has ever walked their paths. The castle itself is not just architecture, but a living symbol, a physical manifestation of the covenant between worlds. I think I understand, you say slowly. My kingdom isn't really a place at all. It's a relationship. It's the connection between the mortal world and the realm of magic. And my job is to keep that connection healthy and strong. Yes, Muren says, her smile bright as the morning sun. You are beginning to think like a true MacLeod ruler. Your kingdom exists wherever the two worlds touch, wherever someone chooses to believe in more than what they can see, wherever a story is told that opens hearts to wonder. A new sound reaches your ears. The distant rumble of an engine, growing closer. You look down to see a small boat approaching the castle island, its wake spreading silver ripples across the calm water. At its wheel sits a woman with grey hair and kind eyes, wearing a practical jacket, and a smile that seems familiar though you are certain you have never seen her before. Ah, Muren says with satisfaction. Your first official visitor from the mortal world. The boat reaches the castle's small dock, and the woman ties it off with the efficient movements of someone who has spent a lifetime around water. She climbs onto the dock and approaches the castle, moving with the careful dignity of someone who knows they are in a special place, but is not quite sure what the proper protocol might be. You descend to meet her in the castle's entrance hall, the crown of forgotten stones now appearing as a simple silver circlet that might have been purchased at any jewelry shop, visible to those who choose to see it, unremarkable to those who do not. Your Majesty, the woman says, offering a careful curtsy that speaks of research into proper etiquette. I am Dr. Margaret Cameron, and I have come seeking your help with a matter that, well, that the ordinary authorities don't seem equipped to handle. Please, you say, gesturing to chairs beside the great fireplace. Tell me how I can help. Dr. Cameron settles into her chair with visible relief. I am a folklorist, she explains, and I have spent the last 20 years documenting the traditional stories of the Scottish Highlands. But lately, I have begun to notice something strange. The stories are changing, evolving, becoming more vivid and detailed. And the people who tell them to me, they speak as if the stories were not just tales handed down from their grandparents, but personal memories. Things they have witnessed themselves. Through the crown's perception, you can see the truth of what she describes. The new treaties have strengthened the connection between worlds, and that strengthening is expressing itself in exactly this way. The old stories are coming alive again, becoming present reality for those who are open to experiencing them. What would you like me to do, you ask? Help me understand what is happening, Dr. Cameron says. Help me document it properly, and perhaps help me ensure that these living stories are preserved and protected, rather than dismissed as delusion or mental illness. You exchange a glance with Muren, who nods approvingly. This is exactly the kind of work the new treaties are meant to support. Collaboration between the worlds, preservation of wonder in forms that can coexist with modern skepticism. I would be honored to work with you, you tell Dr. Cameron. But I should warn you that this collaboration may change your life in ways you cannot imagine. Once you truly see the connection between the worlds, once you understand that the stories are not just stories but living truths, you cannot go back to seeing them as mere folklore. Dr. Cameron's eyes light up with the hunger of a true scholar. The joy of someone who has spent years studying something wonderful and is finally being offered the chance to experience it directly. I accept the risk, she says without hesitation. In fact, I welcome it. And so begins your first official act as ruler of the Hidden Realm. Not a grand ceremony or a diplomatic negotiation, but a simple partnership with a mortal scholar who wants to help preserve the stories that keep magic alive in the world. It feels exactly right, exactly like the kind of quiet, persistent work that your ancestors have been doing for centuries. Over the following hours, you and Dr. Cameron walk through the castle together, and you begin to teach her how to see with the crown's enhanced perception. You show her the tapestries that move with their own life, the books that rewrite themselves when no one is looking, the windows that sometimes show not the lock outside, but other times, other places, other possibilities. The stories are not changing, you explain as she takes careful notes in a leather-bound journal. The stories have always been this alive, this present. What is changing is people's ability to perceive that aliveness, to accept that there might be more truth in a fairy tale than in a newspaper. And my role, Dr. Cameron asks, is to be a translator, you tell her. To find ways to present these living stories that honor their truth, while making them accessible to people who need rational explanations for magical experiences, to be a bridge between the academic world and the world of wonder. By evening, Dr. Cameron has filled half her journal with notes and observations, and her eyes hold the particular brightness that comes to those who have touched something larger than themselves. She will return to the mortal world changed, carrying new knowledge and new purpose, ready to begin the delicate work of preserving magic in forms that skeptics can accept. This is how the New Age unfolds, Maureen explains, as you watch Dr. Cameron's boat disappear into the evening mist, not through dramatic revelations or supernatural invasions, but through individual partnerships, one person at a time choosing to see deeper, to believe wider, to accept that the world is stranger and more wonderful than they had previously imagined. You nod, feeling the rightness of this approach settle into your bones. The crown of forgotten stones pulses gently against your temples, reminding you that this is what you were born for, not to rule through power, but to serve through connection, not to command obedience, but to inspire wonder. The lock stretches before you in the gathering darkness, its surface mirror smooth, reflecting stars that are just beginning to appear in the deepening sky. Somewhere beneath those waters, Selkies sing songs that bridge the gap between human longing and oceanic mystery. Somewhere in the hills, the fair folk tend their ancient business, secure in the knowledge that the treaties will hold, that the balance will be maintained. And here, in Dun Adian Castle, you settle into your throne, not a chair of gold and jewels, but a simple stone seat worn smooth by centuries of royal use, and prepare to spend your first night as the acknowledged ruler of the Hidden Realm, guardian of the crown, that ensures magic will never entirely disappear from the world. The crown's true rest. As the castle settles into the deep quiet of Highland night, you find yourself drawn not to the royal chambers that Moyen has prepared for you, but to the simple window seat in the castle's eastern tower, where you can look out over the loch and feel the pulse of both worlds flowing through the crown of forgotten stones. The inheritance that began with a lawyer's letter has become something you could never have imagined, not just a castle and a title, but a complete transformation of who you are and how you understand your place in the world. You are no longer simply yourself. You are yourself, plus all the MacLeod rulers who came before you. Yourself plus the responsibility for maintaining the delicate balance between magic and reason. Yourself plus the role of bridge between worlds. But strangely, rather than feeling burdened by this expansion of identity, you feel more truly yourself than you have ever been. The crown has not changed you so much as awakened what was always there, dormant in your blood, waiting for the right moment to bloom into consciousness. The greatest magic, Nuren says, appearing beside you in the window, ambrosia like mist given form, is the magic of becoming who you were always meant to be. The crown does not make you royal. It reveals the royalty that was always part of your nature. Outside the window, the loch reflects not just the ordinary stars, but other lights as well. The gentle glow of underwater palaces where the Selkies hold their courts, the distant shimmer of fairy paths that crisscross the highland hills, the soft radiance of sacred groves, where the ancient trees keep their eternal vigil. What will tomorrow bring? You ask. Though you feel no anxiety about the future, only a deep curiosity about how your new life will unfold. Tomorrow will bring whatever needs your attention, Lauren replies. Perhaps another scholar seeking to understand the changing nature of the old stories. Perhaps a child who has wandered into a fairy ring and needs help finding their way home. Perhaps a crisis that requires all your diplomatic skills to resolve. Or perhaps simply a quiet day to explore your castle, to learn more about your heritage, to grow into the fullness of your royal nature. The stones in your crown pulse gently in the darkness, each one a different color, each one carrying its own gifts and responsibilities. The blue stone of wisdom reminds you that learning never ends, that even crowned rulers must remain students of life and human nature. The green stone of growth whispers that your reign has only just begun, that you will continue to develop and evolve as you face new challenges and opportunities. The white stone of purity assures you that your intentions will remain clear, that you will never lose sight of your true purpose as a servant of the greater good. The red stone of compassion fills your heart with love for all the beings mortal and magical, who depend on your careful stewardship. The black stone of courage strengthens your resolve to face whatever difficulties may arise in the years ahead. And the clear stone of truth shows you the reality of your situation with perfect clarity. You are exactly where you belong, doing exactly what you were born to do, living exactly the life your soul has been yearning for without knowing what it sought. I am home, you say softly, the words carrying the weight of revelation, of recognition, of deep acceptance. Yes, Muren agrees. You are home at last. The highland wind stirs outside the castle walls, carrying with it the scents of heather and pine, of peat smoke and wild roses, of rain-washed stone and the salt tang of the distant sea. But it carries more than scents. It carries stories, memories, the hopes and dreams of all who have ever looked upon this landscape and felt their hearts expand with wonder. Your breathing slows and deepens, matching the rhythm of the waves against the castle's foundation. The ancient pulse that has been beating since the first stones were laid. The crown of forgotten stones grows warm against your brow, and you feel yourself settling into the role that will define the rest of your life. Guardian of the bridge between worlds, keeper of the ancient treaties, sovereign of the hidden realm. Sleep comes to you like a gentle tide, carrying you into dreams where you walk through your kingdom in all its manifestations. Sometimes the physical castle and lock, sometimes the vast network of relationships that connect all magical beings, sometimes the invisible realm of story and symbol, where the deepest truths make their home. In your dreams you see the future unfolding, years of quiet service, decades of careful diplomacy, a lifetime spent ensuring that wonder never entirely disappears from a world that grows more complex with each passing day. You see yourself growing into the wisdom of your ancestors, learning to bear the crown with the same grace and dedication that has marked the MacLeod line for 1,000 years. You see partnerships with scholars and artists, with dreamers and storytellers, with anyone who understands that the world is larger and stranger and more beautiful than it appears to those who look only with their physical eyes. You see a network of allies growing around you, mortals and immortals working together to preserve the spaces where magic can flourish. You see children, some your own, some adopted into your heart, learning the old stories, growing up with the knowledge that they live in a world where anything is possible, where wonder waits around every corner for those who know how to see it. And running through all these visions like a golden thread is the deep satisfaction of a life lived in service to something greater than yourself. The joy that comes from using your gifts, not for personal gain, but for the good of all the worlds that touch this one. The crown of forgotten stones settles more deeply into your sleeping consciousness, and in your dreams, you begin to understand the greatest secret of all, that true royalty is not about wearing a crown or ruling a kingdom, but about accepting responsibility for the well-being of others, about becoming a bridge that allows different worlds to coexist in harmony. You sleep now as the rightful heir to Dunaidian Castle, sovereign of the hidden realm, keeper of the ancient treaties, guardian of the crown that ensures magic will survive in a skeptical world. But more than any of those titles, you sleep as someone who has found their true home, their real purpose, their deepest identity. The castle holds you safe through the Highland night, its stones pulsing with the same rhythm as your crowned head, its walls embracing you with the love of countless generations of MacLeod rulers who work to maintain the balance between worlds. You are not alone in your sovereignty. You are supported by all who came before, and all who will come after, part of an eternal chain of guardians ensuring that wonder never dies. Sleep, inheritor of castles and crowns. Sleep, bridge between the worlds of reason and magic. Sleep, keeper of stories, and guardian of dreams. The Highland mist wraps around your island kingdom like a protective cloak, and the loch reflects stars that shine in both the mortal sky and the heavens of the other world. Your reign has begun, and it will be long and peaceful, and filled with the quiet satisfactions that come from a life well lived in service to others. The crown rests easy on your sleeping head, and the ancient stones remember your name, whispering it to the wind that carries blessings across the water to all who need them. Sleep now in your castle of inheritance and story, your fortress of wonder and responsibility. Sleep and dream of all the good you will do, all the balance you will maintain, all the magic you will help preserve for generations yet to come. The crown has found its rightful bearer. The castle has welcomed its true heir. The hidden realm has its sovereign, and you have found your way home at last. The gentle return. Let the Highland castle fade now around your sleeping form, its ancient stones releasing you with blessing and gratitude. Feel yourself floating gently back across the loch that reflects two moons, over the bridge of starlight that appears only for those who know their true heritage, past the standing stones that hum with recognition of royal blood awakened. The crown of forgotten stones grows lighter on your head as you drift through the mist, becoming translucent, becoming memory, becoming the kind of truth that lives in the heart rather than in the waking world. But its gifts remain with you. The wisdom of the blue stone, the growth of the green, the purity of the white, the compassion of the red, the courage of the black, the truth of the clear crystal that sees through all illusions to what is real and lasting. You carry these gifts back with you into the realm of ordinary sleep, where they will work their subtle magic on your dreams and your waking life both. You will wake tomorrow knowing something you did not know before, that you are connected to something larger than yourself, that you have a role to play in keeping wonder alive in the world. That royal blood means not privilege but service, not power but responsibility. The solicitor's office dissolves into mist. The letter crumbles to dust that scatters on Highland wind, but the truth it revealed remains solid and warm in your chest. You have inherited more than you ever imagined possible, not just a castle but a calling, not just a crown but a purpose that will give meaning to every day of your life. Miren's voice whispers one last time through the gathering darkness. Remember, child of the MacLeod line, that the greatest inheritance is not what you receive, but what you choose to give. Carry the crown's wisdom into your waking world. Be a bridge between what is and what could be. Keep the stories alive for those who come after. Feel your breathing slow to match the rhythm of natural sleep, your body settling into the soft embrace of your own bed, your own pillow, your own quiet room, but carry with you the memory of stone halls and starlit locks, of treaties written in song and crowns made of forgotten stones, of a heritage that runs deeper than genealogy and a calling that transcends ordinary ambition. The Highland mist wraps around you one last time, soft and protective, carrying the scents of heather and pine, of peat fires and wild roses, of ancient stones warmed by countless years of Highland sun. Let it cover you like a blanket woven from starlight and story, warming you, protecting you, holding you safe in the knowledge that you are loved by lands you have never seen and stones you have never touched. Sleep now, inheritor of castles and keeper of crowns. Sleep, and let the wisdom of your royal ancestors settle into your bones. The courage of your bloodline strengthen your heart. The compassion of the ancient treaties guide your steps in the waking world. May you wake knowing that you are more than you imagined, connected to deeper stories than you ever dreamed, called to a purpose that will bring meaning and joy to every day of your life. May the crown of forgotten stones rest invisible but present on your head, reminding you always that true royalty lies in service, true power in protecting what is beautiful and fragile and easily lost. The castle sleeps on its island in the Highland Loch, waiting for your return whenever your heart needs reminding of who you really are. The treaties hold strong, the balance remains, and magic continues to live in the world, because of guardians like you who understand that wonder is not a luxury, but a necessity, not entertainment, but medicine for souls that have forgotten how to dream. Sleep, child of ancient blood and modern purpose. Sleep, bridge between worlds of reason and magic. Sleep, keeper of the stories that matter most. Let your dreams be filled with Highland mist and standing stones, with Selkie songs and fairy bargains, with the deep satisfaction that comes from knowing your place in the great pattern that connects all things to all things. The crown has found its bearer, the castle, its heir, the hidden realm, its sovereign, and you have found your way to the deepest truth of all, that home is not a place, but a recognition, not a destination, but an awakening to who you were always meant to be. Sleep now in the warmth of that recognition. Sleep well, sleep deep, sleep blessed by ancient stones and crowned with forgotten stars.